The United News Marathon broadcast continues with the television news service. This morning, the Russians shelled railway infrastructure in Donetsk region, targeting a non-electrified section before Sloviansk. As a result, trains will be running with delays. For the nearest trains heading towards Kramatorsk, reserve diesel locomotives and buses will be used. The day before, the occupiers injured 4 local residents in Siversk and Bilitska. Another person in the region was wounded. A man was injured and both an ambulance and private homes were damaged. These are the consequences of the night shelling in the Dnipropetrovsk region. 2 districts of the region came under enemy fire. The number of people killed as a result of the Kabi strike on the Pokrovska community has risen to 2. September 1st. The body of a man was recovered from the rubble of a private house. Due to Russian aggression in the Kherson region, 2 people were killed and 2 more were injured. One of them is a child. The enemy shelled 34 settlements. They targeted critical infrastructure and residential neighborhoods, damaging an apartment building and 8 private homes. There were 146 enemy strikes on the Sumy region, where 4 private houses and 7 civilian cars were damaged. The occupiers dropped 30 aerial bombs and 20 drones on the region, but fortunately there were no casualties. We must protect those who protect us and punish those who do not. In this way, young people are criticizing the tightening of criminal liability for military personnel for insubordination. The day before, the Verkhovna Rada passed the first reading of a bill to reinstate criminal liability for unauthorized abandonment of units and desertion. Protesters also came out against a bill aimed at increasing penalties for military personnel to between 5 and 10 years, imprisonment for failure to obey commander's orders. For the first time, a similar prosthesis made with cardboard appeared in Kyiv. In Kyiv and other cities, this happened after attempts by dependent anti-corruption bodies in the parking lot in July of this year. At that time, the protests lasted several days and ended after the Verkhovna Rada restored the independence of NABU and SAP. Service of nonsense. Service of nonsense. Suspenera, please. Suspenera, They hid in occupation for more than 3 years. 4 Ukrainian soldiers managed to be evacuated from the temporarily occupied territory. The story was made public by the commander of the naval forces, Oleksiy Nezhpapa. It all started when someone was released from Russian captivity. Ukrainian Marine Morpy said that his brother Bliznyuk was severely wounded during the fighting in eastern Ukraine and ended up in a local hospital. They had to hide from the Russians. Doctors helped the wounded soldier. The Naval Forces Command began preparing a special operation to evacuate the soldier. It turned out that together with Morpy, there were 3 other servicemen of the National Guard of Ukraine in the hospital. All 4 of them had to hide from the Russian military for 3.5 years. The Special Reconnaissance Unit of the Naval Forces, Angels, carried out the operation. The special operation, carried out in several stages, evacuated Morpy, the National Guardsman, as well as a hospital worker who had helped hide the Ukrainian soldiers. The soldiers arrived in Odessa. They are safe and have already reunited with their families.
My land, my cherished land, my beloved family. She truly believed. She fervently prayed every single day with unwavering devotion. I knew it deep within my soul. I could feel it profoundly in my heart. I will absolutely never ever forget this powerful and enduring memory.
A Russian Federation agent was detained in Zaporizhzhia. According to the investigation, the 28-year-old man was passing on the coordinates of substations that generate electricity for the Zaporizhzhia and Dnipropetrovsk regions. Following his handler's instructions, he got a job at one of Zaporizhzhia's energy companies. He reported to the enemy about the consequences of attacks on energy facilities. SBU investigators have notified the suspect of suspicion in the energy project of treason. He faces life imprisonment. A group of police officers managed to evacuate elderly people from the Sumy region, White Angels from the border region. After another terrible night of enemy artillery shelling, people couldn't take it anymore and called the rescue hotline in the morning. The house of this 82-year-old woman was badly damaged during the latest Russian attack on the village, so she was taken to her son, and the elderly couple was evacuated to a safe place. Although their home survived, they could no longer stay under constant explosions. 2 more women were evacuated from the Bilopilia community. All of them, until the very last moment, did not want to leave their homes, but living there became unbearable due to enemy shelling.
Lower yourselves down carefully. Come on, everyone, please carefully lower yourselves down to the ground now.
About 700,000 Russian troops are currently on the territory of Ukraine. This was reported by a representative of the main Directorate of Intelligence, Andriy Yusov. According to him, this includes not only regular troops but also support forces, special services and the Russian National Guard. They are mainly concentrated in the Donetsk region. That is where some of the heaviest fighting is taking place. According to the General Staff, as of last night, there were 184 engagements on the front, with nearly 50 of them in the Pokrovsk direction. Our forces had to repel enemy attacks, particularly near Kharkiv, Nikonorivka, Rodinske and Udakny as well. There was also unrest in the Lyman and Toretsk sectors. Our defenders also stopped assaults in the areas of Rayhorivka, Serebryanka and Dronivka. This is the Siversky direction. A lightning operation by the defense forces and a major surprise for the enemy. Today marks 3 years since the start of the Great Slobodansky operation. Back then, our soldiers forces in the Kharkiv region. In total, more than 10,000 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory. They drove the occupiers far beyond the Oskil River and captured entire arsenals of Russian equipment, weapons and ammunition in battle. The defense forces seized 400 enemy tanks, over 500 infantry fighting vehicles and 200 armored personnel carriers, as well as hundreds of munitions and small arms. Many Ukrainians remember how the local residents of the Kharkiv region rejoiced at the return of the armed forces of Ukraine. There were many hugs, tears and joy. At the same time, when our soldiers entered the key cities of the Kharkiv region, particularly Izium, they saw not only abandoned belongings, equipment and the bodies of enemies, but also the consequences of their crimes against humanity. In the forest near Izium, a mass grave was discovered. Among the dead are 414 civilians, 22 servicemen and 11 bodies that have not yet been identified. They are now safe. A large group of Ukrainian children was able to be returned from occupation. This was reported on his Telegram channel by the head of the president's office, Andriy Yermak. He did not specify exactly how many minors were rescued. He only noted that they endured oppression, coercion and the imposition of Russian propaganda. Among the children, for example, are sisters who, after their mother's death, were almost taken to an orphanage. And also a teenager who was put on military registration despite having health problems. Now all of them will receive psychological assistance. Hungary has no other choice. Budapest responded to Trump's demand to stop buying Russian oil. Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó said that his country cannot give up Kremlin energy resources. He also accused other European countries of being hypocrites as they buy the same Russian oil but through Asian intermediaries. In addition, Szijjártó commented on Zelensky's recent statements that supposedly even Russia has agreed that they are not against Ukraine joining the EU while Hungary is still resisting. The diplomat stated that Kyiv should not count on Moscow's influence and that they, meaning Hungary, will not change their position on Ukraine's accession to the European Union. In particular, last weekend, Budapest once again rejected the opening of the first cluster of negotiations on Ukraine's accession to the European Union. A Russian agent was detained in Zaporizhzhia. According to the investigation, the 28-year-old man was passing on the coordinates of substations that generate electricity for the Zaporizhzhia and Dnipropetrovsk regions. Following his handler's instructions, he got a job at one of the region's energy companies and reported to the enemy about the consequences of attacks on energy facilities, according to the investigator. The Security Service of Ukraine has informed the suspect that he is charged with high treason. He now faces a life sentence. In Volyn, an advisor to the mayor of Kovel was exposed for organizing a scheme to evade mobilization. The 47-year-old man helped servicemen and those liable for military service to obtain fake deferments. He involved 2 more city council employees in the scheme, including his wife and his 24-year-old nephew. For $2,500, the men were promised to be removed from the wanted list and to have changes made in the electronic system. The talisman. The mayor's advisor managed the entire scheme, personally communicating with employees of the Territorial Recruitment Center. All 4 have already been detained. The Kovel City Council reported that 3 of their employees have been dismissed. The investigation is ongoing and the suspects face up to 8 years in prison with confiscation of property. One of the suspects previously held senior positions in district departments of the Territorial Recruitment and Social Support Center, so he promised to resolve military registration issues for money through his personal connections.